the Nonprofit Podcast, powered by Donorbox.
Imagine you're sitting with your nonprofit team staring at a blank piece of paper trying to plan out the year ahead. But where do you even begin? It's a daunting task and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But don't worry, you're not alone. Goal setting and planning for the future is a crucial step in ensuring the success of your nonprofit, and we're here to help. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast. I'm Cara, fundraising coach at Donorbox. We're here each week with practical actions you can use today to increase donations and take your nonprofit to the next level tomorrow. Today, I'm joined by Jena, nonprofit advocate here at Donorbox, to talk about goal setting. Welcome back, Jena.
Thanks for having me, Cara. I'm excited to dive in.
Well, I'm excited that you're here as well, and we have a lot to cover today. As we know, goal setting is like putting together a puzzle. It's the first step in planning for the new year, and it's essential for nonprofit organizations to take the time to set clear and specific goals for the upcoming year. Sometimes it's easier just to wing it and put out the fires as they come along, but that's not the best approach, is it?
Not at all. It comes down to being proactive versus reactive. We often talk loosely about goals, but where do they fall in a nonprofit's overall plan?
So I think you need to take one step backward when you're talking about goals. It all begins with your organization's mission. Your mission is like the North Star that guides your ship. Your mission informs your goals for a period of time, and those goals make up the plan. Now, what steps do you need to make those goals happen? And this is what you said, they fall into the nonprofit's overall plan here. And it's the tactics that are used to shape the goals and to reach these goals. So for instance, if a goal is raising $30,000 to fund a project that is essential to the mission of the organization, a tactic could be the type of fundraiser that needs to be implemented, whether it's a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign or a direct mail campaign, or maybe it's a fundraising event. Your tactics also encompass the tasks or the work that it takes to get these up and running into completion. And here's a little pro tip. It is really easy to get bogged down in the tactics, the activities that direct the goals, right? So take time to evaluate the tactics that make up your to-do list every week. Look at them. Look at them through the filter of your goals. Are they essential activities to achieve these goals? If not, filter them out until another time or filter them out altogether. It's really easy to get distracted in the work that keeps you busy or a fun activity, but keep focused on the activities that drive the goal. Okay, so working from the top down, we have mission, which is fueled by the goals, which are driven by the tactics you need to achieve them. And lastly, all of the tactics that are chosen for a campaign really dictate the financial resources that will be needed, which is why budgeting is also an important piece of that. It's like playing Monopoly. You want to make sure you have enough cash on hand to build that hotel on the boardwalk. I hope does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to have all the pieces mapped out so you can budget properly, right?
Yeah. And then once those pieces are in place, and this is my favorite, you can map out a timeline. A good timeline gives you a projection of how long it will take to meet those goals. And this really helps in creating a realistic expectation and allows you to make adjustments as needed, quarter by quarter or month by month, whatever that looks like.
That makes complete sense. And as organizations consider what their goals will be for 2023, what's the best way to approach them?
When you talk about goals, it's really always a great practice to keep them SMART. So by that, I mean specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. So that's SMART. And the SMART goal setting framework, it's like a roadmap. It keeps you focused. It's like following a GPS. It really helps keep you on track and ensure that you reach that destination.
That's a really good analogy. And just like a GPS might adjust its route due to bad traffic, it's important to regularly review and adjust SMART goals as needed too, right?
Yeah, so exactly.
Let me make sure I've got this right. For example, instead of just saying, I want to improve donor relations in 2023, a SMART goal would be something like, I want to personally call all first-time donors who give $100 or more, say, every Friday in 2023. Is that smart?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a great example there. And Jenna, setting those SMART goals is really just the first step. It's just as essential to create a plan and stick to it. And that's where developing good planning habits come in. It's essential to achieving those goals, which fuel that mission and all the good that you're doing in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of nonprofit professionals may need help with staying focused and on track because they're wearing so many different hats. It can be so easy to get distracted with these tasks or by something that may be a fun project. And that's why it's crucial to develop good planning habits. And one habit that's essential for successful planning is setting aside dedicated time each week to review progress and make adjustments to your plan. And this can help ensure that your nonprofit stays on track and that your goals are being met. And another successful habit for planning for nonprofits is to break down those large goals and make them more manageable. So this helps make goals less overwhelming and more actionable. So for example, instead of saying, I want to increase donations by 50% in 2023, a smaller, more manageable goal would be, I want to research and implement new fundraising software and update my giving forms on my website by the end of Q1 2023.
That's too broad to start with, right? Like, I want to increase donations by 50%. I mean, that's a good goal, but yeah, I like that. I like the recommendation you gave.
Yeah, absolutely. So by breaking down these larger goals into smaller increments, it becomes easier to track progress and make adjustments as needed. And I know I keep on saying track progress, make adjustments. This is such a crucial part of the goal setting. And looking at that big picture and thinking, oh, I just need to implement a new fundraising method instead of saying I need to increase by 50%. That feels much more attainable, right? So
yeah, and it's something you can check off your list too.
Exactly. And that feels good. So additionally, it can also help to prioritize and delegate tasks among team members, making it easier to achieve the larger goal. And maybe you are a team of one, maybe you have some volunteers or your board, you should loop them in this area too. And this habit is especially important when working with a limited budget and resources, which many nonprofits are. And it really allows you to focus on what's most important and most achievable. And with this, it's also important to prioritize tasks and focus on the most important and urgent items first. So by focusing on the most important and urgent tasks first, you can help to minimize the risk of things falling through the cracks and ensure that you're making that steady progress toward your goals.
I'd also add that communication and collaboration are key habits for successful planning too. It's really important to get all the stakeholders around the table or around a virtual call and include staff and board members and volunteers in goal setting and planning. Maybe once a year, this is an annual retreat or something, but this really helps ensure buy-in and support for your goals throughout the year. Regular meetings and check-ins on the goals throughout the year can really help keep everyone on the same page and ensure that the tasks are completed on schedule. And it's important to remember that these habits are not set in stone. They can and they should be adjusted as needed to fit the specific needs of your nonprofit and the personalities within. So really just working in collaboration to stay focused on those goals throughout the year so that at the end of the year, you don't come up to your next planning retreat and say, what was it we were supposed to work on this year? Really have them in front of you throughout the year.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. Definitely loop in all those stakeholders, so that you ensure that buy-in, and that helps you too. Having a team behind you really helps making that goal more accessible. So it's also really important, as you said, to be flexible and adaptable. As the nonprofit sector is constantly changing and evolving. So with the proper planning habits in place, it can make the journey to hitting these goals feel less like climbing Mount Everest and more like taking a walk in the park. That's how
nice. Yeah.
And speaking of the sector constantly changing and growing, so is the technology to help us keep up. As we're setting our goals, we can really lean on technology that can really help streamline operations for nonprofits.
It's like having a superhero or a sidekick for your nonprofit if you use it well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there are so many different options available
Mhm.
from project management software to CRM systems. And these tools can really keep track of those tasks and those deadlines and manage relationships with donors and partners and so much more.
And we've seen firsthand how these tools can make a huge difference for nonprofits. We use a lot of them ourselves. What are some of your favorite tools, Jenna?
So one of my favorite tools, actually, you and I discovered this together, Cara, and we were so excited, is Google Keep. I think many of us are very avid Google users. So when we stumbled upon this, it was kind of a small win. So it's a simple and easy to use note-taking and organizational app that allows you to create to-do lists and set reminders and keep track of all that important information in one place so
Hmm.
that you can use that right in your Google Suite. And another tool that I use almost daily is Calendly. It's an appointment scheduling software that makes it easy for organizations, well, anyone, to schedule meetings and events with donors, partners, or other stakeholders. So this helps you avoid that annoying back and forth
Mm,
email chain trying to set an appointment. So
yeah.
I'm available these days. Which days are good for you? Well, these days work for me. And then you're all of a sudden you're 5 emails in before you set an appointment. But you can
Yeah.
drop this link in to those stakeholders. They can select the time they want, and you're good to go.
Awesome. Okay. What else? Anything else?
I also love using Buffer for social media management. And I know that social media can be a big pain point for nonprofits because they're doing so many things already. Maybe they have the content, but may not have someone to manage and post all this. So Buffer is a great tool for scheduling posts across multiple platforms, which is great for nonprofits who want to maintain that active presence on social media and
Mm-hmm.
should be maintaining that active presence on social media. And then finally, and you'll like this one, is Grammarly.
I love
Grammarly
Grammarly.
is like it's like having a personal editor for your nonprofit's newsletters and appeals. It checks for grammar and spelling errors and plagiarism, and it gives suggestions for improvement. So it's a little bit more than a spell checker. It's like having a spell checker on steroids. So it helps you keep this consistent tone and style. If you have the paid account, you can set a tone that you would like to keep, and it will help you stay on track
Oh,
so that your nonprofit always looks really polished and professional. You have a consistent voice across all of your messaging. So in short, I think it's a game changer for nonprofit communications.
if you communicate well, that really adds credibility to your organization, I think. So that's awesome. And I love Grammarly too.
Absolutely. And what are your favorites right now, Cara?
So a personal favorite of mine, I do like Microsoft Planner. I'm a Microsoft user, but I think it could be a lifesaver for nonprofit project management. It's really user friendly, makes it easy to keep track of tasks and assign them to team members if you're all on the same platform. And you can see the progress at a glance. They also have these visual task boards, and you can make notes there. I know some nonprofit organizations that actually use it as a major donor tracking tool so that they know what their last contact was for a major donor. They create a little task board for each one, and they know what their upcoming steps are. So it's really good. You know, it plays well with all the Microsoft tools. So if your organization is Microsoft focused, that might be something that you want to consider. And I do love project management. And I will say Monday.com is also a really good project management tool for nonprofits. It has a little bit of a learning curve, but it's really flexible, and you can customize boards to fit your specific needs and really get those tasks and tactics and goals kind of knocked out because you can see everything at one glance and have feedback, and it stores your documents. And it also connects with Google Calendar and Slack and probably some other calendars too. So it might be a good choice for nonprofits that want to stay organized. I mentioned Slack. I love Slack. Microsoft Teams also has the capability for communication and collaboration and instant messaging, especially in the remote work environment. That communication is also, or it can be very helpful. You can share files back and forth and ideas, and it's easy to kind of put on mute too too, if you want to focus and get some focused work done. But I think they all really come back to creating good habits. You can have all the software in the world, but if you don't have the habit of using them and implementing them and blocking out time to use them, they might not be as helpful to you. So just make sure that you incorporate those in your good habits.
I think that many of these tools can help us keep our habits on track. You said muting your notifications or blocking out time on Google Calendar can be really great productivity boosters for nonprofits. And it's all about finding what works best for your organization, like trying on different shoes to find the perfect fit. So some nonprofits might find that Microsoft Planner, is their go-to. And I know that many nonprofits are using that Microsoft suite, while others might prefer Monday.com. I like Monday because you can have a mobile app. So if you are a director or a volunteer manager and you're out on site visiting people, you can keep your tasks right there at hand. But it's all about finding what works for you and your team. And regardless of the tools that you choose, it's crucial to have some sort of tech sidekick, as you said, to help with that daily nonprofit grind for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I will also mention that Donorbox has a really good tech sidekick too that helps with just staying attentive to your donors. The moments feature in Donorbox, it helps notify you if you have a first-time donor or a donor anniversary. Just being in the platform there can notify you of when you need to reach out and, help nurture those relationships with your supporters. Hey, as we wrap up, I want to loop back to goals and the goal planning tips and tactics that maybe you've used or could be really helpful to our nonprofit listeners.
Yeah, I'd say one final tip I have is not to be afraid to ask for help or too proud to ask for help. So whether it's from a mentor or a peer in the industry or a nonprofit consultant, or even through Donorbox's resources such as Donorbox Academy, Donorbox Library, and premium coaching, seeking out guidance and advice can be invaluable in setting and achieving your goals. So do not be afraid to ask for help and get a fresh perspective on your plan. You do not have to do it alone. And don't forget to celebrate your successes, whether it's reaching out or it's reaching a fundraising goal or engaging a new donor. It's really important to acknowledge and celebrate the hard work and the dedication of your team. So involve your donors and supporters in your successes too. So share your successes with them through newsletters, social media, or even by hosting a virtual event. This not only shows them the impact of their contributions, but also helps build deeper relationships and engagement with them. So make sure you celebrate all of that hard work with your team and your stakeholders.
Anything that drives deeper relationships and supporter engagement is a win. So that is really great advice. Thank you, Jena. I feel like we covered a lot of ground today. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I think we did too.
All right. Well, I guess that's a wrap on our episode. We have covered a lot of ground, from goal setting and planning habits to specific tools that can help streamline operations for nonprofits. We hope you found this information valuable, and maybe you can start implementing some of these strategies and tools in your own organization. Remember, setting smart goals and breaking them down into manageable tasks, prioritizing and focusing on the most important and urgent items first, using tools like Google Keep or Grammarly or Slack, and blocking out time on your calendar to help you stay organized really can increase productivity and help you achieve those goals that move your mission. And don't forget, the key to success is finding what works best for you and your organization and your team. It's all about being adaptable. It's important to keep in mind that goal setting is not a one-time task, but an ongoing process. So you need to continuously evaluate your progress, adjust your goals and strategies as needed, and make sure you're on track to achieve your objectives. Jena, thank you so much for being here today.
It was my pleasure, Cara. Thanks for having me.
Of course, always. And thank you, our listeners, for choosing to spend time with the Nonprofit Podcast. I hope you've left with the confidence to take a small step today that will make a big difference tomorrow. Don't forget to download and review the podcast, or give it a thumbs up if you're listening to the Nonprofit Podcast on YouTube. Your review is a great way to help others find us. You're here to help others. We're here to help you. So until next time, stay inspired.
That warm feeling when you help someone, it's not just happiness, it's fulfillment. And we believe it should be available to everyone, from frontline heroes to first-time fundraisers. Our tools empower you to help others. This is our mission. This is Donorbox, helping you help others.